Hello and welcome to Die Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam, and today I'm playing Nemesis Lockdown. This is going to be a solo go, but with two characters. Now, I have played this game solo, just with one singular character, and I died every time. So I'm hoping it's a little easier with two characters, but I may be wrong. So yeah, hopefully I don't make any mistakes during this video, but this is the fourth time I played this. I may make some mistakes, so if I do, please let me know and I'll add them to the comments below. But without further ado, let us begin Nemesis Lockdown. So here we are for a game of Nemesis Lockdown with two characters, the hacker and the survivor. We're currently looking at the survivor area here. And before we begin, I just need to go through all the bits about the game that you need to know before we begin. So the general premise of this is we are essentially in a base on Mars, and there's been some kind of outbreak of aliens. So we're essentially trying to achieve some objectives and escape somehow. I'll go through the station first and go through each of the base's nuances, and then I'll talk about the characters, and then we'll get on with the game. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the actual base itself, and the board is split up into three sections: Section 3, Section 2, and Section 1. Section 1 is essentially on the surface here, and we've got like a little Mars rover here, which can get you over to the main bunker, which is one of the three ways to escape out of this game. So this top level here, it has got a repository in here, which is where any characters who aren't Nemesis survivors, so characters who know about the Nemesis, who essentially escaped from it, anyone who is not one of those characters will start in the repository. So the repository is a special room because essentially in this game, normally you can craft an item by discarding two item cards, and then depending on what you've discarded, you get to build a particular thing. But the repository, you can essentially just discard one item and you're able to craft equipment here for two action cards. So yeah, that's where the facility workers start. So we have our hacker starting up there. Also up here, we have a power token. Now, these randomly distributed at the beginning of the game, but there are 4 power tokens, and these essentially will power up the different sections. So there's a 4, 3, a 2, and a 1. If they're double-sided, so if they're powered, that's good. If they're not powered, that's not so good, because the aliens in this, the Night Stalkers, will have a much better chance of ambushing us in the dark. It also means we won't be able to do computer actions. So one of the first things to talk about in this game, I guess, is computer actions. So some rooms will have little computer icons on the actual room tile itself. And if you're in a powered on section, then you can essentially spend one action to do one of the things listed on the computer action card. Now, there's 6 computer action cards in here. One of them is a lockdown card, which I've never seen out yet. And I've played this game 4 times now, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing if we can get that out. But yeah, on the computer action card, you do one of these things, put it to the bottom, and you draw the next one out. So yeah, so power influences if you're able to actually use the computer actions. Another thing power influences is what dice you're going to be rolling in combat. So if you're in a powered down area, like section 1 over here, then you'll be rolling this regular red dice and hoping you'll get particular symbols on here to do damage. If, however, you are in a powered on section, so out of all the 3 sections and the elevator, this section down here, section 3, is actually powered, and the elevator is also powered. And if we are shooting when we're in a powered section, we'll be rolling this dice here, which you can essentially, if you get this kind of icon here, you will be discarding an action card to get that result. So elevators, let's talk about elevators. So as long as the elevator is powered on, if your character is in one of these 3 rooms here, you can essentially call it up to you for an action. So I could call this up there for one action. But if you're in a space with the elevator, you can essentially move to another floor for one action. So I could basically get in there, move the elevator up here with me, and get off there for one action. So that's the elevator. Obviously, if it's not powered on, it ain't going nowhere. So the other thing to mention about section 1 is, of course, the exit room, which is over here. So you can essentially escape the facility and ride this little buggy over to the main facility, the bunker over here. But this main gate here, it's only going to open under a certain circumstances. So this gate will open when the first character dies, if you use a certain item or action in the exit room, or if the auto-destruct is on the red side, which we'll get to in a minute with our time tracker, which I'll go through in a little moment. We're going to talk about section 2 now. So the next section we're going through. So another way you can get into another section is by either the elevator or you go to these rooms here, which are the kind of darkened stairwells. So there's one either side of the facility. And yeah, you'll have to go down there to get to the next level. So in here we have an alert room. And the alert room is special because it can do a couple of things. So in the alert room, you can start the alert procedure. And this is essentially a way to end the game quickly. What you do is you divide the number on which the time token is on by 2, rounding down. Then you place the alert procedure token on this slot of the time track. The game ends instantly when the time token leaves the slot containing the alert procedure token. After activating the alert room, the isolation room opens immediately. From now on, characters may lock themselves there even if the time token is not on any white slot of the time track. The other thing you can do here is peek at contingencies. So you'll see these coloured little things here. These are contingency tokens, and essentially the corporation that owns this facility, once we get to the time track has gone to the very last space, the corporation are essentially coming here and they're going to purge the facility. Now, depending on which one of these contingency tokens is actually selected, because we'll just be selecting one of these, depends on what's going to happen. So the different types you have, there's one type of save all. So essentially, if this is the contingency token, then everyone is going to be safe. We don't have to worry about that. Next one is kill all in CSS pods. That's something I'm going to talk about in a minute, but essentially this is another way you can exit out of the facility. So if you're in one of those pods at the end of the game, you've done all the things you need to do, but this is the contingency, then you're out of luck. Next is kill all in the isolation room. That speaks for itself. If you're in the isolation room, you dead. And then these two ones have 2 copies of each. So kill all who did not send the signal. So there's a transmitter control room somewhere that we have to find to send the signal. If we don't send the signal, and this is the one that comes up, guess what? You did. Unless you're in a CSS pod. If you're in a CSS pod, you don't have to worry about this. And the final one is kill all who have 4 or less knowledge. Now, knowledge is something new to this game, and essentially, depending on where you are on the knowledge track, depends on what intruder weaknesses you can actually exploit. And of course, if you don't have 5 knowledge or more, then you are going to die if this comes up, unless you're in a CSS pod. So if you are in this alert room for 2 action cards, you can essentially peek at one of these contingency tokens. So I'm just going to shuffle these now. And we're going to select one of these to be our, let's do this one. So that's our contingency. The rest of these are in here, apart from the top one. In a co-op game, we reveal one of these. So we know one of the contingencies, kill all who did not send the signal, is in place. So that essentially rules out one of those tokens from being the contingency token there. So still a chance it will be that one because there are 2 copies of that, but there's less of a chance now. So that's the alert room. There's nothing else special about this particular area apart from the technical corridors. So the technical corridors are essentially linked up to every single room which has got one of these little red dots on. And yeah, every time noise is placed in the technical corridor, it's going to go there. And our last section is section 3. Now, there are 2 special rooms in here. So we have our isolation room, which is where all the Nemesis survivors will start. And when the time token is on the slot number 8 on the time track, flip this room tile. And essentially, for 2 actions, you can lock yourself in the isolation room, which is fine as long as the base isn't going to self-destruct or the CSS token to kill everyone in the isolation room doesn't turn up. So that's the isolation room, and the other one is the backup power supply. So if you use this particular room, then you are going to restore power to the bottom 2 numbered power tokens. So out the 4 here, you'd flip 1 and 2 onto blue side. If they're already on blue side, then nothing really happens there, but you can then switch around where these are actually powering. So you might want to move 2 up the top here, where we've got our guy at the moment, and you might want to move 1 down there, or whatever you want to do. So essentially, you're going to be using that backup power supply to kind of move these around a little bit. And the other thing it does, which will bring us over to our event track, is it will flip over your time tracker to the blue time token. Now, why this is important is because every time this moves over one of these little red kind of divides, the topmost powered on section is going to flip over to its unpowered side. So you can see pretty quickly, we would lose all power and facility after the first 2 rounds. Now, if we've actually flipped it over the blue side, then if we move over a red divide, it doesn't actually matter. It won't power down. The only time it powers down is when it moves over one of these blue divides. Now, this will stay this side unless we have an event that comes out that says, oh, you know that time token? Flip it over. So yeah, this essentially will stay on for as long as possible. One other cool thing about the power is that if you're in a section that is powered on at the end of the round, you're going to lose all the noise in that section. So it's a really good way to limit the amount of noise you've got in the facility. And noise brings aliens, so that's a really handy thing to have. So we know the isolation room is a place that you can escape in. So CSS pods. CSS pods are essentially a way to fire yourself off out of the planet so you don't have to worry about the corporation killing you, obviously, unless that one token that kills everyone in CSS pods turns up. Now, they're not exactly reliable because you're not quite sure of which of these pods are going to launch. So you can see the pods over here, A, B, and C. And on the board somewhere, we have definitely got a cargo sending system A pod where you can essentially get into that. And I believe in some of the other rooms, so like these 2s, for instance, we're going to potentially have the B and the C. So what you can do is you can spend a couple of actions in that room and hopefully get yourself in a cargo sending system. And then we've got all these tokens here. And when the time tracker is in this particular area, before we go through moving it down a slot, it will release whatever is in here. So we'll flip this over and see what happens. So it's either going to be, it sends A, it sends B, it sends C, it sends all of them, or it is going to send none of them. So you've got to be really careful going to CSS because if it doesn't launch, you're going to get some injuries. So that is the general setup. I'll now talk to you about the intruders themselves. So over here we have a laboratory board here. We've got 5 eggs in the top right hand corner, and we've got a hacker's knowledge, which is currently set to 1, and a survivor's, which is currently set to 3. Now the survivor, because they're at 3, they get to use this ability here, which is Wary of Shadows. If an adult intruder attacks you with a Perched in the Dark, ignore that card's darkness effect. Handy. And there are these other 2 Night Stalker weaknesses that we can find if we analyze a dead character, a carcass from an alien, or an alien egg. And yes, this is our knowledge thing here. So let's talk about characters. So our survivor, she has got a quest item, an assault rifle. So she goes in the repository and spends a card. She can flip this to get herself an assault rifle. Until then, she has no way of defending herself apart from just punching aliens. And her mission is egg sample. Finish the game in a CSS pod or an isolation room with an intruder egg object. And then over here we have the hacker. The hackers starts with a cheat codes quest. So if we can get to the archive, we can activate this. And we can do the following. If you're in a room with a computer, choose one, initiate the auto-destruct sequence, close, open up to 3 doors in any corridors of the board, peek up to 2 CSS tokens, you may swap them with each other. And the hacker also begins with an energy weapon, a smart gun. So 3 ammo on there, and rolls of blanks are actually treated as single hits. Their mission is send the signal and finish the game with no contingency tokens left in the neutral pool. Now, I said that those are their specific objectives, but essentially to complete this, we need to make sure that both of these have done and at least one character has survived. Okay, so we draw up to 5 cards for each character. So for our survivor, we have repairs, we have a search card, a demolition card, a distraction card. Now, the distraction card is good because you can discard one of your items. You and or one other chosen character in your room may escape the room, moving to the same room without triggering an intruder attack. So it's essentially a way to just get out of a room with an intruder. And the final card we have is arrest. I'll explain these cards as and when we come to them. But if we have a special one which is specific to that character, then I will, I'll go into a bit more detail about that. So I think the first port of call here is, thematically, I'm fairly certain this hacker has essentially just unlocked the isolation room for our survivor so she can assist him on his objective and escape. And because there's 2 of them, it means we can probably explore this facility a lot quicker than if you've just got a single character. So the survivor's mission is to essentially go down here first to get to the backup power supply, to flip this token over to the blue side, so we're not going to be losing power all over the place. Okay, so we have to spend 1 card to move into a room normally, or if we want to move in carefully, we can spend 2 cards. But essentially, I'm just pegging it at the moment. So I'm going to chuck my rest card, and I spend 1 card to move into here. So let us see what we find. We find a contaminated room, gain slime while searching. And the door behind me closes. There's only 1 item in here. Is it worth getting slimed? I don't think so. Okay. So that's my first action. My second action, oh, no, not yet. I've got to now roll for noise. So the X means there's no noise. So I didn't create any noise or hear anything as I was going along. I'm then going to discard my demolition card for my second turn to move into this area here. And I have found the decon room, perform a decontamination procedure. And I get slimed for going in here, and there are 3 items. So I place one of my glass beads onto the slime marker on my board to denote that she has been slimed. And then I have to roll for noise again. And I got a 2. So there's noise going the way I'm headed. So that's her first 2 actions. So we're going to move to the hacker now. So the hacker's got a master plan. If you're in a room with a computer, you can use its room action without paying its cost, or check any 2 unexplored room tiles, but do not look at their exploration tokens. It works for me. Discard a malfunction marker from the room you're in. If you're in a room with a computer and in a section with power, you may use a computer action. Bypass, if you're in a room with a computer and in a section with power, you may perform any number of actions from the computer action card, discard the computer action card afterwards, or flip a power token of the section you're in. Neuralink, if you're in a room without a computer and in a section with power, use a computer action, or if you're in a room with a computer and in a section without power, use a computer action. I think I'm going to want them to come down this way because we want to get to the alert room to start looking at what these tokens are. So first action, we're going to move down here and we're going to discard our bypass card to do that. We roll for noise. We got a 3. So unfortunately, that's gone in the technical corridor. We're going to get rid of our Neuralink to move into this area here. And we have found the power generator. Stop auto-destruct sequence or power a section. That's really handy. And the door behind us closes and there are 3 items in this room. So essentially our level 3 you can, level 1 you can only get in there by elevator at the moment. And there is noise in 4, which is the way we came. So I guess the door probably closed behind us because they sensed something coming. Okay, so that's his second turn. Okay, so we're only one room away from the backup power supply. And now that we know that we've got the power generator out, it's not necessarily important for us to actually rush into this room now. I'm going to discard my distraction and my repairs. No, sorry, before I do that, I'm going to use my search. So the search counter goes down by 1. And I'm going to look for a green item because I'm hoping to get rid of the slime. So we've got a research document, gain 1 knowledge for each discovered weakness, or caffeine pills, draw and reveal 3 action cards, scan all drawn contamination cards. If you have at least 1 infected card, place a lava on your character board. So essentially, it's just grab 3 more cards, I guess. I think we go for research documents. They sound handier. And then she's going to use her last 2 cards to move carefully into the backup power supply room. Moving carefully means we still have to generate noise, but we get to choose where the noise goes. So the noise is going to go there. Okay, second turn over here. We're going to discard these 2 cards to use the power generator to power a section. So we're actually going to power section 3. Section 3 is up here. And we're doing this because essentially as soon as this moves down here, this is going to flip over. If we hadn't powered this section up, then this section would have flipped over and this whole place would have been in darkness. So we're just going to do this section for the moment. And then for the last action, they're also going to search. And we're in a yellow room, so we essentially get a tool of some kind. So a crowbar or duct tape. So the crowbar, discard the crowbar, roll the combat die and deal injuries as in a shoot action, or destroy 1 closed door, or place a malfunction marker in the room you're in. The duct tape helps us discard a malfunction marker from the room we're in. Do you know what? I think that's actually handier. We want to be repairing stuff as we go, not just destroying the place. And that's the end of my go because I'm out of cards as well. So, end of the turn, we now go to the event phase. So the first thing we do is we launch CSS pods. So if there's a CSS pod here, we'd launch it, but there isn't any, so we don't have to worry about that. We now move the time track. So the time track moves over, and it's moved over a threshold, so the top numbered 1 flips over. So the power's just gone out in here. Now we remove noise from any powered on sections, and we do know that section 3 has got the power on, so the noise has gone out to there. We do not, however, remove anything from the technical corridor, even if the whole area is powered. That is obviously never powered because they haven't got any kind of power going on in their vents. I mean, why would they? Okay, we see if there's any intruders to attack. There aren't. There's no fire damage we have to worry about, so we resolve an event card. Hatching, discard 1 egg from the nest. Each character in the nest with no action cards on hand is infested by a lava. If no character was infested, put a lava token into the intruder bag. We don't have to worry about this, apart from, obviously, adding a lava to the intruder bag. So, we get rid of 1 of the eggs from our laboratory board. See ya! And it is now hatched into a lava. So, we're doing the intruder bag development. And what this essentially means is we pick out a token from this bag. And we got a queen. So return the token to the intruder bag. If there's a character in the nest, place a queen miniature there and resolve an encounter. If there are no characters in the nest, place an egg token in the nest. So that egg token we just got rid of, it's gone back in. She's laying eggs. And that is the end of the first round. We're on to round 2. So the Space Raccoon first player token moves over to our hacker after everyone's drawn 5 cards. Now, the hacker has just drawn Recharge, using a section with power to add 2 ammo to your energy weapon. That's amazing. Like, that's such a great card. So he's got Recharge, Demolition, so he could destroy that closed door if he wanted to. Interruption, which doesn't really count for anything in the cooperative game, but it's an extra card. We can search and we can rest, but we don't need to worry about rest right now. So just to remind you, we're trying to get our hacker into the alert room. So we're going to use their rest card to just move into this zone here. So they run across there, flip it over. We found cargo sending system A. And it's broken. There are 2 items in there. Now, just to remind you, if you've played Nemesis before, or just to tell you if you haven't played it before, if you have to place a malfunction or a fire marker and there are not enough to place on the board, then it's the end of the game. So you do have to keep an eye out on how many of these things are out. And then we roll for noise, and we got a 2. So back the way we came. Next, we're going to spend a search card in here. And we're going to look for a green item just to keep us safe, I guess. Oh, okay. So we found research documents and analyze toolset. Discard 1 object, discover 1 intruder weakness, and gain 3 knowledge. Holy mother of Lord, that is amazing. We're going to grab that. So if we can find an egg or an intruder carcass, then we can essentially discard that, get up to add 3 knowledge on there, and discover a weakness. That is amazing. I'm very happy we found that card. And that's the end of the hacker's turn. So over here we've got the survivor, surviving her best life. She drew out the vents card. If you're in a room with a technical corridor entrance, you may move to a chosen explored room with a technical corridor's entrance. Draw and resolve an attack card. Treat it as an attack from an intruder in darkness. Now this is pretty handy because you can essentially move around the facility quite quickly. She has a search card. She has desperate attack, which is a really cool card of hers. Get 1 contamination card and deal 2 injuries to a chosen intruder in the room you're in. Check the injury effect. If this intruder is still in the room you're in, it attacks you immediately. She has an interruption card. And Obstinate. Obstinate is a really fun card because essentially you can draw cards for each serious wound you have. You can have up to 3 in the game. If you've got 3, you're in trouble, but this helps. Or you can discard an item that you own to dress one of your serious wounds, which is pretty good also. So that's her cards. We are going to get rid of the Interruption and the Obstinate because we don't need them at the moment, to use the backup power supply. So we're going to place the 1 into her area, the 2 up here. So power this on, and the time token now flips over to the blue side. So we've got a couple of rounds before the power goes out. Should be enough time for her to explore a bit more of the facility. So that was the first action. The second action, we're going to use this card just to move her into this room here. Roll for noise. Now, normally that would mean nothing, but we're slimed. So what that means is we actually place a noise marker. So that's the end of her go. Right, so we're going to use our interruption card to move into this area here. Now we've got noise for 2, which is up that way. And then we're going to spend 2 of our cards to peek at the top CSS token. And not only do we peek it, we actually get to keep it. So we know that the CSS pods are completely safe. They're not going to kill anyone in the CSS pods. Okay, over to the survivor. She's got 2 cards left, so she's going to do a careful movement using her last 2 cards into this zone here. And we're hoping this isn't on fire. So she found the defense control room where you can exterminate the threat. And the door behind her closes. There's 1 item in here. And we get to place where the noise is going to be because we moved carefully. So in the defense control room, you can reduce the item counter by 1 or place a malfunction marker in this room Choose a room without a malfunction marker and with an intruder. Place a malfunction marker in that room. All intruders in that room suffer 1 injury and each character in the room suffers 1 serious wound. So it's essentially one way to kind of take out friendlies or enemies on your turn. Okay, so that's the end of this particular round. So let's go to the event phase. There's no CSS pods. Move the time turker over. It's blue, so we don't power down any sections. We now remove noise from all powered on sections, and both my sections are powered on. So that means all the noise, for the moment at least, is gone. Now, I think this is actually in this section, so I'll also remove this. If I'm wrong, please let me know. We have no fire to resolve, we have no intruder attacks or anything, so we now resolve an event card. Egg protection, resolve an encounter for each character in the nest or is carrying an intruder egg. We don't have to worry about that, so it's been very nesty at the moment, but I'm quite worried about coming across that. We now do bag development, and we find an adult, which means we all have to do a noise roll. We start with a hacker because they're still our first player, and we got a 3. So we've got some noise coming from over here. And our fearless survivor got a 1, which I knew it'd be a 1, which means because it's going into the technical corridor, and we already have a noise in the technical corridor, we have to resolve an intruder encounter. And we have found an adult. And it's going to do a surprise attack because we don't have 3 or more cards in our hands. So an intruder adult comes out. And at this point, we would have to decide on which objective we're doing, but because we're in a co-op game, we have to do all objectives, so nothing really changes here for us. But it is going to attack us, and the first Night Stalker attack is a Blood Rage, but I don't worry about it because it hasn't got the symbol for the adult intruder on. So we survive this attack. Obviously, I heard it coming. So I'm going to shuffle the cards for the survivor. She has a search card, the events card, a rest card, who really wants something else, guys, a repairs card, and a distraction card. Oh. Okay, I'm just going to try and escape from this because I don't really want to get into a fist fight with an alien. So I'm going to try to escape from combat, so I'm going to discard my... See, I could use my distraction card, but I have to get rid of my research documents, and I want to use those. I'm going to use my rest card to essentially escape from combat. So I move into this area here. I then have to see if the intruder attacks me, and it did. Now, at Perch in Dark, I suffer 1 serious wound. Now, the serious wound I get is bleeding, which is one of the worst ones you get. Each time you pass in the player phase, your character suffers 1 light wound. And what have I stumbled into? The emergency room, treat your wounds. Well, that is very handy, but it's broken. And now I have to roll for noise. Noise 2. So my first action. My second action, of course, is going to be to repair. So I'm going to get rid of my events card to pay for my repairs card to get rid of that. Okay, my hacker got a rest card, a search card, a demolition card, a master plan, and it works for me. So they're going to get rid of their, it works for me, a master plan so that they can look at the top one of these. So we know that if you don't send the signal, it doesn't matter. They're not going to kill you for this, but we do still need to send the signal because that is part of our mission. And we're then going to get rid of our demolition and our rest card to look at the next one. Can all have 4 or less knowledge. There's a yellow, a red, and a green out. We will see. We're hoping one of those is a yellow. and a red. Oh dear. So we still have to find an intruder egg by finding the nest, and we still have send a signal and get rid of the rest of these. So on to our survivor, who has just escaped from a Night Stalker there. So we're going to use our last 2 cards to treat our wounds. And essentially what it means is we flip over this card to be a serious wound now. We still have 1 serious wound. It still counts towards our serious wound count, but we're no longer bleeding, which is great. And we go over to our Fearless Hacker, and they're doing nothing with their last turn. They're passing. They've still got a card in their hand, but they are passing at this point. So at this point, we would launch CSS pods, but there are no CSS pods underneath the time tracker. We now move the time track, and then we remove noise from any areas which have noise, so which are powered. So this section and this section both have noise removed. We now do an intruder attack, but the intruder is not in a room with anybody, so it's just kind of hanging about there. We do fire damage, there's no fire, and then we resolve an event card. Okay, so Kickstopper, flip the power token in the elevator to its inactive side. It already is. Place a malfunction marker in all elevator rooms. Remove this event from the game and reshuffle the events deck, including the discard pile. So essentially each of these elevator rooms is now inactive. And this one actually means they're going to be moving twice. So they're going to go move through 2 and then 4. So this guy is going to move. It can't break through this door. Well, it can't move through the door, so it breaks the door down. So we now have a destroyed door there, and then it moves 4, which is into the room with our character. Hot on our heels there. Now we do an intruder bag development. And we find a lava. So remove the token from the bag and add 1 adult intruder. Our hacker's the first character player now, so we've got search card, which from last turn we have a recharge card, an interruption card, a bypass card, and a search card. And at the end of this round, the power in this section is going to go off. So I'm going to use my 2 search cards to look at this. So we know that they're not going to kill anyone who has 4 knowledge or less. And our last action this turn is to do this to essentially... It's green, so the isolation room is off limits. This is bad because essentially it means we need to get our one of our characters into a CSS pod with an intruder egg. And you never know when they're going to launch or what's going to launch when. So that is tricky. We also don't know where the nest is, so you need to find the nest now. But we are 1 step closer to getting through here. Right, so we have an interruption card for the survivor. We have obstinate. We have demolition, search, and desperate attack. And we're going to use desperate attack straight off. Why not? So we gain a contamination card. That goes into our discard pile and is going to be really sucky as the game goes on. 2 injuries happen to that intruder. And this time around, they have these little dials. Previously, you're supposed to just put red cubes on there, but we're putting dials on here. And then we have to see if we've killed it. No, it's got 1 hit point left, so it attacks us. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't attack us, so that worked out pretty well. So we did 2 damage to it, and yeah, that's not bad at all. So my first action. My second action, I'm going to try to escape from combat with my interruption card here. And I'm going to move back the way I came. Perch in the dark, we suffer 1 serious wound again. Oh, that's a real pity. We only dropped to 4 action cards instead of 5. I'll put on my action deck draw pile so I remember that. Now we have to roll for noise. We got a 1. So it's back in the technical corridor. Okay, my hacker. So we've got a 2, a 1, a 2. These are ones here. I feel like we need to find out what that is. So we're going to go up this way, and they're going to get rid of their bypass card to do this. They found a testing lab. If you have knowledge 4, you can take the neuralizer. And there's danger. So we don't roll the dice, but essentially we put noise in every area that doesn't have noise. And this noise isn't going to be removed at the end of next round because we're going to be losing power in this section. Okay, that's the end of my go. I have to pass because I've only got one card. Okay, so we are now going to use the defense control room. So we're going to use these 2 cards. We reduce the item room by 1, and we deal 1 damage to this intruder. Let's see if we've killed it. We've killed it! So, intruder dead. We have an intruder carcass there. And for my second action, we're going to use Obstinate, which means I can draw 1 card for each serious wound we have, which is 2 cards. So I have to shuffle my discard pile. I draw a search card and a contamination card. Ugh. Well, that doesn't really do me much good. We're going to use our search card to move into this room here. And we get noise on 1. Okay, so the time track. So we now lose power. Remove all noise from powered on sections. And then we have an event. Short circuit. Place a fire marker in each explored room with a computer in sections with power. Oi, oi, oi. Remove this event from the game. So luckily we only have 1 powered on section, and it's there. Intruder bag development now. And we pull out a creeper. So if you pull a creeper out, you remove this token from the intruder bag and add 1 breeder. Breeders are quite tough. 4 cards for the survivor because of a terrible wound. Luckily we're in the perfect place to do this though. So we're going to get rid of her search and distraction to dress all her serious wounds. And then her last action is going to be to discard these 2 cards to get rid of one of those. So she only has 1 serious wound now. Over to our hacker. So they've got master plan, search card, a bypass card, an interruption card, and Neuralink. So I'm going to use this bypass card. I'm fairly certain I'm able to flip a power token in the section I'm in. I don't think this actually has to happen. Yeah, so I'm going to flip a power token of the section I'm in. I'm going to get rid of my interruption card to do that. So I turn the power back on into the area I'm in. And then I'm going to use the master plan here. So I can check 2 unexplored room tiles because I'm looking for the nest. So I'm going to look at this one here. Cave entrance. And then I'm going to look at this one here. The nest. Okay, so that was my 2 goes. However, the survivor can't do anything else, so it goes back to the hacker. And we're going to use 2 of these to move into this area carefully. I'll place a noise up this way. Okay, so there's no CSS tokens under here. We move over there. First CSS is going to launch this round. And we know the eggs are in there. We need to find the other CSS pod though. So we remove all the noise from this section. There's no intruder attacks or fire damage, so we resolve an event card. Each character with no action cards on hand discards 2 ammo. If they do not have enough ammo, they discard one of their items. Yikes. So both my guys don't have any action cards, so we're panicking. 2 ammo off of the smart gun, and my research documents have had to be discarded for the survivor because she didn't have any ammo. Now intruder bag development. This is where things get tricky. We got a blank one, so we put the token back in the intruder bag and we add 1 adult intruder to there. Okay, so we're going to be drawing up our 5 cards to the survivor because she got rid of her body injury. So demolition, interruption, vents, repairs, and an obstinate. So we're going to get rid of, well, first of all, we're going to use our obstinate card. We're going to use that to draw a card. So just got to shuffle my discard pile. And she's got a search card. Okay, so she's going to use her demolition and her interruption cards to get rid of that serious wound she had. And that's the end of her go. The hacker has got, it works for me, rest, demolition, search, and a recharge. So we're going to use his demolition and his rest to move into this zone here. And into the nest. The character explored this room gains 1 knowledge. And it's, of course, it's on fire. Noise coming from the technical corridors, which unfortunately already had noise in. So if things weren't bad enough, we draw a lava. So we're in a powered on section, so it doesn't get to do a surprise attack. Okay, and I'm instantly going to change what I did here. I'm going to use this to jump out. And we have a cut, so we don't need to worry about that. Noise coming from one way we came, that makes sense. Okay, now I'm planning on getting back up to the testing lab because one of the computer actions I can use can essentially remove fire from an area. So we're going to try and put out the fire in the nest. We'll go over to our survivor now, and they're going to use their vents card to move into this area. We're still trying to find the cooling system there. We're still trying to find the room which has the transmitter to send the signal. Door closes behind us. And noise everywhere because we're still slimed. So realistically, we have this, and this that will potentially be one of the transmitting rooms. So do you know what? We may as well search whilst we're in there. So we're going to use a search card, draw 2 cards, and cave plans. If you're in a room with technical corridor entrance, you may move to a chosen explored room with a technical corridor's entrance. Draw and resolve an attack card from an adult intruder in darkness. Or discard a malfunction marker from the room you're in. Open 1, close 1 door. I'll take the tool belt, although the cave plans are pretty handy. But I can naturally do that with one of my cards. Back over to our hacker. They're going to move, it works for me to move into this area. 3. So noise back in the technical corridors, which is exactly where we don't want them to be. And then our last thing, we're going to use a computer action. And we're using our recharge to do that. So the computer action, we're going to choose one room, discard a fire marker from that room. If there is one, all the intruder in that room retreat. So we're choosing the nest. So we draw an event card, and it's 2. So it goes into that room there. Okay, so we're going to use the survivor now to move into this zone here and hopefully not get an alien, but hey, who knows. I'm going to discard our repairs card to do this. Found the archive. And it's broken though. And hopefully we don't find an alien. We find an alien because it's gone to the technical corridors. And today we find an adult. And it definitely attacks us. Perched in the dark, 1 serious wound. Man, there's a few of these in there. And we get knee. The cost of the first movement, including escape, action, the player's first turn in the round is 2. Yikes. And that's the end of my go, which is really unfortunate because now I'm in a room with an intruder and it is going to attack me. So let's go through the event phase. We launch our CSS pod. The first one is no launch. So we move this down 1. We don't unpower anything because we're on the blue side. We remove all the noise in sectors which are powered on. And then we do intruder attacks. Blood chase. The character suffers 1 light wound and gets a slime marker. If the character was attacked because of an escape action, has any undressed serious wounds, the intruder follows them. Wow, we just take a light wound. Now for an event card. That's hot. To place a fire marker in the backup power supply and power generator. So this guy's not going to move because he's already in a room with a character. Why would he want to move? And our lava was not on that board, so it's not going to move either. So intruder back development. We have a blank. So we're adding another adult to the bag. Okay, so let's draw the next 5 cards for our hacker. We didn't do something last turn. We should have drawn a new computer action, and computer action B came out. Gain 1 knowledge, pick up a chosen CSS token, or swap 2 chosen power tokens. Sorry about that, guys. So we're going to try and get to... I feel like we need to fix this just in case. But I don't have any repairs. I do have duct tape though. So I'm going to use my rest action to move the hacker into there. Ooh. We've got 3. And then going to get rid of my master plan card and my duct tape to essentially repair this room. So we can escape using cargo sending system A now. Speaking of escape, so 5 cards, we got a distraction, a search, contamination, desperate attack, and arrest. I'm really tempted with another desperate attack, but we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna use the distraction. So we're gonna chuck our tool belt at this adult intruder. Moving into this zone without an attack, we still roll the dice. And it's slimed, so it's everywhere. Okay, and then she's going to use her rest and her rest and search to carefully move into here. I'd have to use two cards to move anyway because of my dodgy knee. We found the laboratory where we can analyze objects. It's broken though. Okay, so our hacker is we're going to use our recharge now, which gets us 2 ammo. Then we're going to use our Neuralink to move into here. And we got a 4. And we're not going to move into the nest because that's a bad idea. I'm going to pass now. The survivor's going to pass. We're on to the next part of this. So there's no CSS tokens. This moves down 1. Intruder attacks. It can't attack anyone. It can't attack anyone. So we remove all noise in powered on sections. Now for an event. So nothing moves. In each section, move each intruder that is not in combat to a room with a character who has an undressed serious wound. And no action cards on hand. If there are several rooms to choose from, move the intruder to the room with the lowest room number. So we don't have to worry about that because we don't have any. We don't have anybody who hasn't got any action cards left with undressed wounds. I think I'm reading that correctly. We've still got our desperate attack for our survivor here, so she's still got an action card. So essentially, they do not get to her, which is very handy. If I play that wrong, please let me know, but I'm fairly certain that is how that card is played. And we found the queen, which is a really good job because if we were in the nest, that would have spawned the queen. So we add an egg. Now, full disclosure, I've not been passing this first player token over. So unfortunately, I probably have got them out of whack here. So apologies for that. So our survivor is going to hotfoot it up this away. But she's going to use her vents to do this. We're going to go straight to the nest. So she's going to get rid of her search card for this. And she goes through the vents into there. And do we get attacked? We do not. Now, I'm not sure if we're supposed to do a noise roll, but I'm going to say we have to do a noise roll. We've gone through the vents. That would have been noisy. So we've got a noise on the technical corridor now. And she's going to spend her obstinate to draw a card from her. Oh, we still got cards, Adam. And she draws an interruption card. So not really that useful. And then it is our hacker's turn. So our hacker is going to move into this area for one card. And I've just got to draw his cards out. So we're going to use our interruption card to move into that zone. We don't have to roll for noise because there's a character in here. We're then going to get rid of a search card to move into this zone here with our friendly little alien who scampered off up here. So we find the transmitter control room, which had to be in here. So send a signal or check an objective in here. It is, of course, broken. And we don't have to perform a noise for this, a noise roll. So I'm then going to, that's the end of his go. It's now the survivor. Okay, she's going to spend 2 cards to pick up an egg. She's now got an egg, so we're closer to our objectives now. So we're going to use our demolition cards to shoot at this thing. And we're in a powered on section. So, yep, that kills this guy. And then I'm going to use my bypass here. I'm in a room with a computer and a sexual power. You may perform any number of actions from the computer action card. Discard the computer action card afterwards. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to gain 1 knowledge to begin with. So I'm now on knowledge 3, so I can use the first weakness we found. I can pick at a chosen CSS token. So I want to see what's going to be coming up next. There's not much I can do about this next turn because I'm not really there. But look, I'm going to check this one, see what that is. So that's launch A. So if I can get her into there for the start of, well, the end of round 6, then essentially we've got it. We've got her out, and then we just have to send the signal here, and then this guy's got to go somewhere, and we've done it. It's worth noting now we're on round 8 that the isolation room flips over, and we can now lock ourselves in there. So that may be the hacker's route. Well, this is turning up lovely. I can swap two chosen power tokens, which I'm also going to do. So I'm going to put the lowest numbered one into the section we're in, and the highest one over there. Okay, and that's the end of my round. So CSS, we've got a no launch. Move this down, no power outs happen here. We remove all noise from sections, but there's no noise. Been pretty quiet, I guess. And then we do fire damage and intruder attacks. There's none of that, so we do an event. Intruder's moving down 1, so the intruder's off the board now. If there's a malfunction marker in the cooling system, which there isn't, thankfully, start the auto-destruct sequence. If not, place a malfunction marker there. We haven't got many of these malfunction markers left, unfortunately. Okay, I've got to remove that event and shuffle the event deck back into the event deck. Okay, and intruder bag development. I get a larva, so that goes out and an adult goes in. Okay, so hacker first, he gets the, it works for me, discard a malfunction marker from the room you're in, which is very helpful. So I think we can pretty much do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to use our it works for me and discard the rest card. So the it works for me card, discard a malfunction marker from the room you're in. If you're in a room with a computer in a section with power, you may use a computer action. I forgot to get the computer power out again. Computer action E, choose one room, discard a file marker from that room. Swap two chosen power tokens or peek at a chosen CSS token. So I'm repairing this. Boop. And then I guess get rid of fire as well. Just because we don't want it spreading. So I'm going to get rid of this fire. Using computer action E. And we now have computer action D command open, close one chosen door, peek at a chosen CSS token or move the rover. So that was my first action. And of course the second action is using my master plan. If you're in a room with a computer, you can use its room action without paying its cost. Woot woot. So I've now sent the signal. So the hackers completed their objective. We just need to get our survivor into the CSS pod and we're pretty much there. So the survivor already had repairs, rest, search, distraction, demolition. So the first action is going to be to get into here, but she has to use 2 cards to do it because of her dodgy knee. It's only the first movement, so we're going to get rid of her demolition and rest. And then we'll get rid of her distraction card to move into there. And actually, we're going to do a careful movement into there, so we're going to use a search as well to do that. No, repairs to do that even. And I'll place that on 4. And that's the end of her turn. So I think we're going to get the hacker to go into the isolation room. So they're going to use the interruption card to move into there. We get a 1. And then he's going to stay where he is. It's probably not a good idea, but that's where he is. And we're going to go to the survivor. She's going to do a search action. And she's going to look for a green card of some kind. Reagent or caffeine pills. They're all pretty bad. We'll go for the reagent. Okay, so we're all done. We don't launch anything. We move down 1. We remove all noise tokens from powered up sections. Have an event. Leaving the shell. Each character with a lava on their character board gets a contamination card and scans it. Each other character draws 4 cards from the deck and scans all drawn contamination cards. If they have at least 1 infected card, put a lava on the character board, discard all drawn cards. Okay, so the hacker we know is just going to draw 4 cards. So he's drawn 4 cards, nothing. She, however, does have a contamination card, so we'll shuffle her deck. 1, 2. Oh, yeah, there it is. So 3, 4. Those 3 get discarded. And we scan the contamination card. Hopefully this isn't infected, because so far it's going well. So let's have a look. It's not infected. Intruder bag development. Have an adult, so everyone does a noise roll. Oh, danger for her. It's exactly what we didn't want to have happen. And for him, got a 4. Okay, so we start off with our illustrious survivor, and the survivor is in a position where they can actually escape now. I was a little worried about the noise around there, because in other Nemesis games, when you're trying to do something, you have to roll for noise, and she's slimed, and I was really worried about this. However, I don't think we need to worry about this right now. We can only enter a CSS if the time track is on one of those CSS kind of tokens, which it is. We know this is CSS1, so we're essentially going to draw up her hand and spend 2 actions to go in there. We discard her hand. So she is now in CSS-A, which is all the way over here. So she's in there, and hopefully we didn't get that wrong. That's on the postcard. If we did, just the hacker left. So I'll shuffle their hand. So they got search, a master plan, it works for me, Neuralink, and search. We use our it works for me card to move into this area here. We roll for noise. Now we got danger, so all around us. Then we're going to do a careful move using our 2 search cards to go into here. And we're going to place the noise on 2, why not? And now for our last action, we're going to use our last 2 cards, and hopefully we don't get a 4 or a 2 on this roll. My word, we got a 3, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we've locked ourselves in the isolation room. So that's the end of this round. We checked the CSS token. It is launch A, as we believed. Let's have a quick look. Launch all, launch C. Oh, there's 3 no launches. Oh, of course there would be. So there's 3 no launches. Launch B would never have happened. So let's go through the end of the game and see if we manage to beat this game. So there's our objectives. So the first thing we have to do is check the contingency. Oh, Adam, you idiot. The contingency is kill on the isolation room. So the hacker who found out that information had totally forgotten it and has ended up getting killed. However, we still have hope with our survivor. Our survivor managed to get in the CSS pod. So as long as she's got the egg sample, which is fine, both these things have been met, we just have to make sure that she's not contaminated. So each living character checks the contamination cards, but we know we only have 1 contamination card, and we know that that actually isn't infected. So we skip that step, we check our objectives, finish the game in a CSS pod or an isolation room with an intruder egg object, which we did, we're in a CSS pod, and the signal was sent and there were no contingency tokens left in the neutral pool. My word, we did it. Unfortunately, the hacker didn't check their information. well, what a prat I am. I can't believe that I actually went ahead and did that. Even though I knew that the isolation room was what would mean certain death, I still went in there. So I kind of feel like the hacker was like, oh, this is, I can't believe what I did for this corporation. I need to, I need to suffer for what I've done. And they sacrificed themselves? I mean, thematically, maybe it works. They just wanted to do one last good deed before they ended it all. So I'm kind of kicking myself for the fact I didn't do that properly. I'm fairly certain I didn't make any mistakes, apart from a couple of times I forgot to move over the first player token. But I think I mostly got this right. If I did make any mistakes, then please let me know, guys, because I am still learning this game. This is only the 4th time I've ever played this game, so there might be some mistakes made. I think that's about it. I really enjoyed playing this game. I'm really looking forward to playing this multiplayer, because so far I've only played the single player, and I find Nemesis I enjoy it a lot more when I'm playing with more people at the table and we're not playing cooperatively. I much prefer it when we're all against each other. Well, not against each other, but kind of working cross purposes. So really excited to see how that plays, and we will be doing videos to kind of cover all that stuff, as well as a comparison video between the original Nemesis and this Nemesis, so you can get a general idea of what you get with each and general thoughts on it. But I won't do that video until I play this multiplayer, because that's where these games shine, in my opinion. Stay tuned to our channel if you do want to see some more Nemesis Lockdown stuff, because I've got everything that came with it. So we will be doing a Chitrid run through as well. And if there's any particular characters you'd like to see me play with, including characters from the original base sets, then also let me know and I can run through that as well. So I've been the ever excitable Adam. Thank you so much for watching this. We really appreciate you guys getting involved, liking, subscribing to our various social medias. So that's Instagram, where you can find me posting pictures most days. Facebook, where we rarely post things, but now and again it'll happen. And then, of course, here on YouTube, where we have every Friday is a solo game and every Monday is an unboxing. And then midweek, we often do reviews or other little features like this. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And until next time, guys, stay safe and keep rolling.